All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Polzin with 9to5 Sports. Going to be getting into the Week 9 stacks. A lot of you guys are familiar with this video. It has been a very successful video thus far. I've been able to lead people onto the correct lineup paths in which have led them to some possible GPP winning lineup construction. So hopefully we can do somewhat of that today. I do have some stacks that I do like, but as always, we'll start with the stacking report and then apply that knowledge on DraftKings. If you guys enjoy this coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. That does help me be able to help you guys out more. Do want to just call a reminder out as well. The sponsors will be right here as the video is going on. Make sure to check them out. We got Sports Battle app. Use the promo code 9TO5 to get $5 cash back. You can make some awesome prop-based bets there. Okay, guys, just free money. That also helps me out channel-wise if you use the promo code. And same thing for Stat Hero. Stat Hero has a bunch of fun different playing types. You got the Pick'em. Got the Survivor. All fun stuff there available. Use the promo code 925 there. The number is 925. All right, let's get into the stacks for this week. So starting off with the stacking report, have it sorted by the main slate only. Do want to call out Mike Williams is currently listed on this stack because, well, he is the highest priced receiver for the Chargers currently, and that's how this is set up parameters wise. So that is why he's popping out there, just so you know. I will say there could be some merit to this stack, whether it is Josh Palmer or a value play that some people are liking, Michael Bandy. Obviously, if Keenan sits. I don't mind that. You could go Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and then one of those two receivers, whether that be Josh Palmer or Bandy. Not a terrible one. From there, the Arizona Cardinals stack seemingly always popping up. I don't hate that. Buffalo as well, popping up as one of the top stacks on the slate. No duh. Josh Allen, great. Dawson Knox, cheap. Makes sense. You can play Devin Singletary. Diggs has been a stud. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we kind of get the general feel for what the top projected ranked stacks are right now. Let's look at the projected value on the stacks. And yes, sir, one of my favorite stacks on the slate, the Jaguars. And I like to see that the data is thinking that as well. Value-wise, they could be great. Evan Ingram, too cheap. Christian Kirk, too cheap. Travis Etienne, too cheap. And then you got Trevor Lawrence, also very cheap. 4 easy plays you can make into your builds because they are so cheap. I love that stack. I'm going to run that stack out there, guys, and I'll show you guys how you can apply that stack. That should be a very solid stack. The only issue with that stack that we already are seeing, they are going to be kind of maybe higher owned. We'll touch on that. Value-wise, we actually see that the Buffalo Bills are a little bit cheap value-wise. I guess with Dawson Knox still being pretty cheap, Devin Singletary is pretty cheap. I guess that makes sense. Detroit Lions, I don't know if we're going to play DeAndre Swift, maybe Goff, and Hawkinson's not there anymore. Maybe Brock Wright you're putting in there? Could be. All right, let's look at leverage rank. This is ownership leverage. Which stacks are the most undervalued compared to how they're going to play? Once again, DraftKings has TJ Hawkinson listed as the highest priced Detroit Lions tight end. That's why he's popping up here. Just so you know, you would insert Brock Wright in here, which is a good value price point tight end play. You could possibly run out a stack like that. Personally, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I will say the Charger stack is a little bit lower owned. The Jaguar stack's a little bit lower owned, and the Cardinal stack is a little bit lower owned. Those are some stacks that you can run out there if you want to, and vice versa. Let's see which kind of stacking route is going to be the highest owned. We're looking at the Bengals. Probably just want to avoid that. Actually, Carolina, very cheap. Probably want to avoid that as well. So now let's apply that data, that knowledge, into some stacks, some lineup paths for you guys. So we'll start off here with this Jaguars game. Okay, Trevor Lawrence in a great spot. Should be able to go off and have a good game. Travis Etienne also in a great spot. Expect him to have a good game. Christian Kirk finally has his best game of the season thus far, matchup-wise, or not of the season, but in a long time. Okay, they have had some tough matchups. You look at Philly, you look at Houston, Indy, okay. The Giants, tough. Denver, tough. And he's been manageable. He's been good enough. So like Christian Kirk, you could definitely put in a stack like that. And then Evan Ingram, yes, he is very cheap. He played his most snaps last week as well. Seems like they are going to try to funnel some targets his way. 6 or more targets in the last 4 games. I like that a lot. Then you could possibly run it back with Devontae Adams or Josh Jacobs. I do not hate that. Like if you really want to go game stack, you're saying this game is going to be a high-scoring game. That is a route that you could go. And then if you do go that route, you could even play Zay Jones, who played 100% of the snaps last week. Once again, he gets a great matchup as well. He's had a few games in which he's seen 10 or more targets. So he could be someone that you're looking at as well with a really crazy game stack. Obviously, you don't want to go that crazy, but if it is one in which you think is going to be kind of a shootout, it's a path you could go. Now, Minnesota versus Washington, I do think this game has some stackability as well. Maybe you're going Taylor Heineke. I don't mind that route. You could go one of the running backs, Dalvin Cook, Antonio Gibson. Maybe Antonio Gibson, let's just game script. Maybe the Vikings get up early. That forces Antonio Gibson in a little bit more, gets a few more targets at 5.5, maybe. Not exactly a must play, especially even in a stack. I guess the only way I would play Gibson is in a game stack this week. But with J.D. McKissic out, the pass and down usage should go to him. I don't think Jared Patterson's going to do much. Then from there, you're kind of just doing this to the top 4 studs, pass catchers on both teams. Okay, there you go. Blindly clicking, you're good to go. Justin Jefferson in a great spot. F1 in a great spot. Finally had 2 straight games in a row that were good. And I think that might be the Taylor Heineke effect right there. Adam Thielen, pretty cheap price point for a guy that's been pretty consistent, gained a decent amount of targets, averaging 12 DK points per game, kind of a sneaky play as well. And then Curtis Samuel kind of had a bounce back games the last 2 games, probably going to give you around 10 DK points. I'm perfectly fine with that. Tight end wise, I don't really know if we need to force in any of the tight ends. Maybe Logan Thomas gets 60% of the snaps, cheap price point for him. You could potentially play him, but then we're getting a little bit overloaded. Not a terrible start though, not a terrible stack there, especially if that game does shoot out. And then we're looking at the Chargers versus the Falcons game, another game in which you could easily stack. And whether it's Justin Herbert or Marcus Mariota, I think either will work. And it really just depends on what you want to go with. Obviously, Marcus Mariota more of a rusher. Let's just show it with the Justin Herbert. So I do think Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler, you can pair together, kind of have a unique stack in which you can make both of them work. Tyler Algier right now as the starting running back, very cheap. And then we're going to go Josh Palmer. And I don't mind the idea of Michael Bandy right now, especially for a stack. You can put him in there. Maybe DeAndre Carter instead of him. Kyle Pitts as a way to run it back as well. Kind of a cheap play. Okay. I personally think he's overrated, but he did get 9 targets last week. Someone you could look at, especially in a game stack. And then that's pretty much it. Decent exposure to a game that should not have that much defense played. So not a terrible stack. You still have plenty of salary left over to make it work. Okay, and then probably my favorite game to stack, it would be this Miami-Chicago game. It seems like Miami is always the spot in which you want to target, and it seems like DraftKings doesn't price enforce the other team going against Miami too much because Justin Fields is at a very cheap price point. Okay, he has been scrambling a lot lately. You look at his lowest DK point total over the last 4 games. It was 17 DK points. We would certainly take that production at this price point. So Justin Fields, 5.3, going to scramble. Gets a good matchup against Miami. That's a matchup that I do like. From there, you could play Mostert. You could play Herbert. You could play DM, Montgomery. I'm fine with all those plays. I'm just going to go with the pass catchers, though. Tyreek Hill. Okay, you could argue that he is still way too cheap, given the usage. 8.5 for a guy that has consistently been putting up 28 DK points or more, consistently getting 10 or more targets. It's strange. And you look at the Bears defense, pretty banged up now. 2 of their best pass rushers are gone. 2 of their best defensive players are gone. We just saw them get torched by Dak Prescott in his second game back from an injury for a passing offense that hadn't done much. So yes, I certainly expect the Miami Dolphins to be able to go off and kind of dominate against the Bears. And I do think just given this third tag that's listed there, it's going to scare some people away from it. So I think Waddle and Hill are still firmly in play. Our 2 guys that we've been loading up on a decent amount this year, still firmly in play. Darnell Mooney at 4.7 I like as well. The receiver number 1, I still think he will be. Chase Claypool is a great asset to have for them. It makes a lot of sense, but the player that can get open at will and has looked great is Darnell Mooney. Okay, he's kind of due for a touchdown as well. And maybe just having Chase Claypool on the field, his presence is going to help lead to Darnell Mooney having more wide open plays. I mean, he's been wide open a ton. Justin Fields just needs to hit him. I like the idea of stacking this game, and I like the idea of Darnell Mooney. From there, Cole Kmet, I guess you could playing a lot of snaps. You would hope to get a touchdown like he had last game. That's pretty much it. And then the last game in which I want to call out for stacking purposes is going to be the Green Bay-Detroit game, and mostly just with the Packers side of it. You got Aaron Rodgers, 5.9. He has actually been really consistent, okay? No games over 20 DK points thus far, but really only 1 bust, and basically all of them have been right around his average, which is 14.9 DK points. He might have Allen Lazard back, he might have Christian Watson back, and he might have Romeo Doubs back. His top 3 pass catchers, tack on the fact that Robert Tonyan might be back as well, that's highly appealing to me. Then you could easily go Aaron Jones. Right now, A.J. Dillon, I guess, is apparently banged up. Rodgers kind of mentioned that in an interview yesterday, saying, we're happy to have Kylan Hill back because A.J. Dillon's a little bit banged up. I don't know. We'll see. It wouldn't be shocking. Maybe A.J. Dillon doesn't get as big of a workload, and maybe we do see Aaron Jones getting 20 or more opportunities in this game. And if we knew that for sure, if we knew Aaron Jones was going to get 20 or more opportunities in this game, we would just lock him in, because that would be insane. Against Detroit, getting some targets, wide open rush lanes, like we would love that. I would expect him to go for 25 DK points, honestly. Like, either way, I like him. So just play him, especially in the game stack. It just makes sense. And then from there, receiver-wise, I do think 2 out of the 3 Packers top receivers you do want to play. Obviously, if Allen Lazard is active, that makes it a little bit more difficult. And I have been finding myself trying to play Christian Watson, just a dynamic playmaker. It seems like he's going to be active, seems like he's going to pass the concussion protocol fully. And if he does, I expect him to play about 50 or so snaps, but I also expect them to give him like 3 or so manufactured touches, like they did last week. Well, they tried to do one play. And if you guys were watching that, you saw both Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers go like, oh, our whole offensive game plan's messed up now. But yeah, Romeo Doubs, you could go. I like that. Then Brock Wright, a cheap way to get on that team. And then it's kind of a question mark. Is Josh Reynolds going to be active? Probably. We'll see. Held out of practice. And if he sits, then you're just going with Khalif Raymond. Very cheap. Still very cheap. $4K for a guy that's been productive, been playing some snaps. I don't mind that. Obviously, St. Brown is someone you could look at, but I do expect Jari to kind of hinder his production like he did for Diggs. I know what you guys are thinking. Well, Diggs had a great game. When Jari was covering Diggs, he got shut down. My hope as a Packers fan is that they let Jari shut down the only passing weapon in the offense. That's my hope. So this is what I'd be looking at game stack wise. All right, that's all I have for you guys. If you guys want to put in some of those stacks, go to the 9to5 lineup optimizer and put those stacks in there. It's available for 9to5 members for $10 a month. Included in that is the NFL DFS cheat sheet that you saw earlier, the NBA DFS cheat sheet, the PGA DFS cheat sheet, as well as the DraftKings lineup optimizers for those sports. Included in that is the premium NFL golf package as well. If you guys want to, check it out. It's $10 a month. If not, just give me a like and subscribe. That helps out the channel, which helps me be able to help you guys out. All right, thanks for watching as always. Let's keep cashing.